Welcome to MogulCast, where we uncover the stories behind the world's greatest business empires. Let's get into today's story. May 12, 2022. 3:47 a.m. Kwon's phone buzzes with a notification: Luna is now worthless. In 14 days, $40 billion, gone. A stablecoin designed to never drop below $1 had crashed to $0.0001. A cryptocurrency once backed by Silicon Valley's smartest money was now digital dust. This is the full story. And it is worse than you think. Kwon wasn't supposed to fail. Born in South Korea, educated at Stanford, he launched Terraform Labs in 2018 with a radical idea: a stablecoin that didn't need cash reserves. Instead, it used math, an algorithm that balanced supply and demand. No banks. No regulators. Just code. Investors loved it. By 2021, Terra's Luna token was a top 10 cryptocurrency. But there was one flaw in the system, one that Kwon himself called the most important invention in the history of money. We will come back to that decision. It is the key to everything. Kwon's pitch was simple: Anchor Protocol, Terra's lending platform, offered 20% annual yields, no strings attached. For comparison, savings accounts paid 0.05%. The math didn't add up, but no one cared. By early 2022, Anchor had $14 billion in deposits. Venture capitalists like Pantera Capital and Galaxy Digital poured in millions. Even retail investors mortgaged homes to buy Luna. The hype was unstoppable. Until it wasn't. April 2022. Terra's market cap hits $41 billion. Kwon is everywhere: CNBC, Bloomberg, Twitter. He taunts critics, calling them poor. He even bets $1 million that Luna will never drop below $85. The confidence is intoxicating. But behind the scenes, the algorithm is a house of cards. Every time UST, Terra's stablecoin, dipped below $1, the system burned Luna to prop it up. It worked, until it didn't. And then, on May 7th, someone pulled the plug. The first domino fell at 2:58 p.m. on May 7th. A single wallet sold $285 million worth of UST. The algorithm couldn't keep up. UST slipped to 98 cents. Panic spread. Within hours, $2 billion more was dumped. Kwon's team scrambled, but the damage was done. Not everyone was celebrating. In fact, some had seen this coming for months. They just weren't loud enough to be heard. Here is what the media completely got wrong about Terra. It wasn't just greed. It was a flaw in the code itself. UST relied on arbitrage, traders buying and selling to keep the price stable. But when panic hit, no one wanted to play. The algorithm assumed infinite liquidity. In reality, markets freeze. And when they do, math doesn't matter. Kwon had built a system that worked, until it didn't. And by then, it was too late to fix. May 9, 2022. UST crashes to 60 cents. Kwon tweets, deploying $1.5 billion to defend the peg. It doesn't work. The next day, UST hits 30 cents. Luna, the token that was supposed to back it, collapses to $1. 2 days later, it's 1 cent. The death spiral is in full effect. Investors realize the truth: Terra wasn't decentralized. It was a Ponzi scheme disguised as an algorithm. And Kwon was the only one who could stop it, if he wanted to. May 12, 2022. The unthinkable happens. Luna, once worth $119, is now worthless. The blockchain is paused. Kwon goes silent. In chat groups, investors post suicide hotlines. One writes, "I lost everything. My kids' college fund. My house." The collapse wipes out 313,000 wallets. And just like that, $40 billion vanishes. But the worst part? Kwon knew this could happen. He had even warned about it, years earlier. The warning came in 2018. In a now-deleted blog post, Kwon wrote, "Algorithmic stablecoins are inherently fragile. A death spiral is not just possible, it's inevitable." He called it, the curse of the stablecoin. Yet 4 years later, he built one anyway. Why? Because the hype was too strong. The money was too easy. And the critics were too quiet. Until they weren't. May 13, 2022. Interpol issues a red notice for Kwon. He is wanted in South Korea, the US, and Singapore. But Kwon is already gone. For 9 months, he evades capture, tweeting from the shadows, "I don't have to defend myself. I will make something new." Meanwhile, victims file lawsuits. Regulators demand answers. And the crypto world realizes, Terra wasn't an accident. It was a blueprint for disaster. And if you've made it this far, you already understand something most analysts completely missed. March 23, 2023. Kwon is arrested in Montenegro with fake passports. He fights extradition for 2 years. Then, in December 2025, a South Korean court sentences him to 15 years in prison, the harshest penalty ever for a crypto fraud. The judge calls it, the largest financial crime in history. But the damage is already done. Terra's collapse triggers a $2 trillion crypto winter. Companies like 3 Arrows Capital and Celsius go bankrupt. And regulators finally wake up. The fallout is permanent. The SEC sues Terraform Labs for fraud. The EU passes MiCA, the world's first crypto regulation. And investors learn a brutal lesson: if it sounds too good to be true, it is. But here's the twist: Terra wasn't the first. And it won't be the last. Remember that decision we mentioned at the start? Here is what it actually cost: 313,000 families. A $2 trillion market crash. And a man who thought he was smarter than the system. By the numbers, $40 billion erased in 14 days. 313,000 wallets wiped out. 15-year prison sentence. $2 trillion total crypto market crash. 20% yields that lured millions. And one man who called himself the king of crypto, now a convicted felon. The numbers don't lie. But the real story? It was never about the money. It was about the hubris. Here is the lesson no one talks about: Terra didn't fail because of the algorithm. It failed because of the narrative. Kwon sold a story: decentralized money, no banks, no limits. And for a while, the world bought it. But when the story cracked, so did the system. The real fraud wasn't the code. It was the belief that math could replace trust. And that's the trap every investor falls for, until it's too late. If you want to understand how this pattern repeats across every major business collapse, the next video covers a story with disturbing parallels. A company that promised to change the world, until it became the biggest fraud in history. That one is next. That's the story for today on MogulCast. If you found this valuable, subscribe and hit the bell. A new empire story drops every single weekday. See you tomorrow.